Are we all geared up for the session to start? Yes or no? Okay. With your permission, we'll brief you about the session. This session is dedicated to exploring the crucial role of logistics in the semiconductor industry. We have a series of informative presentations and a dynamic panel discussion also, all designed to enhance your understanding of how collaboration and innovative models can drive efficiency in logistics. Gentlemen, I humbly request you to kindly take up your seats, please, and have the networking later. First up, we have Mr. Nikhil Agarwal, VP and Head of Business Development. First up, we have Mr. Nikhil Agarwal, VP and Head of Business Development, Strategy and Program Leader, FAB at TEPL. Mr. Agarwal will discuss collaboration and partnership models for efficient logistics, offering valuable insights into how strategic partnerships can optimize logistics. Please give a warm welcome to Mr. Nikhil Agarwal with a big round of applause. You can go ahead, sir.
Okay. Sorry, I would really request everybody to be seated, please. Go ahead. Okay. So good evening, everyone, once again. Thank you so much for giving this opportunity to talk about a very, very interesting topic around collaboration models for efficient logistics, right? Now, before we even go into the details about this interesting topic, let's try to understand why logistics is so important for semiconductor industry. Yeah. So here is a quick slide that talks about the complexity and how global the semiconductor industry is right now. So if you see on the slide on the left hand side, we are talking about the tools and the equipment. So if you see the details, most of these tools and equipment right now are all coming in from outside India, right? Around 44% of the tools and equipment on the wafer fabrication side are coming from United States. Another around 30% is coming from Japan, right? And likewise. And the same story continues for assembly, advanced packaging, and everywhere, right? On the right hand side, if you see from a materials perspective, again, the entire supply chain for materials is very, very fragmented, right? It's primarily either in US or Taiwan, Japan, Korea, and likewise. Each of the critical elements that we keep talking about, like CMP, wet chemicals, different kind of gases, photoresist, photomask, all those kind of things. So what we are getting out of this slide is basically, that while the entire supply chain is global, at the same time it is very, very complex, right? And this is only one part of the story. When we look at not just the suppliers, but the manufacturers or the foundries, they are also all spread across the world. At the same time, the customers to whom these wafers or packaging products are being sold, they are also spread across all the world, right? So which brings us to the point that how can we go ahead and take care of this entire logistics situation where the needs of the entire industry right now is very, very diverse, right? This is also a industry where all these requirements from a logistics standpoint are also very unique. So to name a few, a lot of these kind of chemicals and gases that are required, they require a specific temperature and humidity control. All the tools and equipment that we operate to manufacture or to produce wafers, they require a lot of moisture-free and dust-free environment. A lot of these equipments, when they are supposed to be shipped, they are supposed to be taken into account from a vibration control or vibration resistance, kind of environment. Similarly, on the right-hand side, if you see a lot of these chemicals and gases, they are classified as highly dangerous and hazardous, right? So they need to be stored in the right condition. Odd dimension cargoes, a lot of these tools and equipment are very, very massive in size. So ODC or odd dimension cargo is kind of very, very extremely important. At the same time, from a material handling standpoint, the way these products need to be handled in terms of loading, unloading, and then ultimately put up in the fab, they need to be specially handled by very specially highly skilled, kind of a workforce. So net is from an overall industry standpoint, this is a highly complex global industry with very, very unique set of logistical needs. And then the importance of this is, what is the tagline, right? It is not just about shipping the right product at the right time, but it's also very important to ship in the right condition, which is extremely important for a semiconductor industry, because it is not just important for the industry as such. Ultimately, these entire goods have to be shipped to the ultimate consumers, right? So from that standpoint, the entire industry is very closely connected, and we have to take care of all the situations into account. Moving on to the next part, when we look at Dholera, right, and this is exactly what we have been working with the government. The government has been very, very supportive in terms of taking care of and at least listening to all the logistical needs and what all needs to be augmented from an infrastructure standpoint. But when we look at Dholera as a region, what we are trying to say here is a very comprehensive logistical approach or solution is required to be done when we are setting up this fab at Dholera. With an example, if you see on the left-hand side, what you see is massive trailers or trucks where either cold box or LN2, right, liquid nitrogen is basically transported. So, and these pictures are basically coming from Sinchu Science Park. But very soon, here in Dholera, close to us, we will also be seeing the similar pictures, right? But at the same time, while we are thinking about the vision, what exactly is required is we would require a lot of loading, unloading, holding capabilities, right? For doing this kind of a heavy haul. A lot of warehousing facilities is also required so that, by the time these are loaded from ships or aircraft, they can be stored in a warehouse, if in case there is any delay to transport them to the fab. A lot of suitable trucks, heavy haul trucks and long trucks are required to be there on the for trucking these to the site. And lastly, the infrastructure in terms of the roads, need to be adequate to ensure that these kind of goods are being transported efficiently and in the right condition to the site. On the right-hand side, if you see overall from an infra standpoint, we have quite a few ports in Gujarat, and Gujarat is known as a port city, right? A lot of different kind of ports are. Within Dholera, we have Pipavav Port, Bhavnagar Port. There is an airport that is going to come up. We also have ports on Dahej and Hazira. So while the basic infrastructure from a ports, airport standpoint is there, what needs to be seen and what needs to be worked off is those ports and the conditions on those ports in terms of infrastructure are adequate. Yeah, in terms of the right manpower, the right training the manpower, just so that they can handle equipments worth multi-billion dollars, right? They can also ensure that the customs clearance that is being done at those customs clearance zones are done in such a way so that it doesn't lead to any default in the functionality of the equipments, right? At the same time, the trucking solutions should be in such a way that the goods can be transported in a vibration resistance kind of an environment out there. So this is just one example, but as we move forward, there will be multiple such examples that we'll have to kind of work through and ensure that the goods are being sent in the right direction. Similar to, so in Sinchu, if you go, they have a beautiful place called as a logistics park or a logistics center, and the entire park is connected to the fab. That is a kind of a vision we are also looking at over here, where the Dholera fab is the main focal point, and near the fab, you have the customs clearance zone, you have multiple warehouses, you have a seaport, you have an airport, and all of them kind of are connected very well with wide network of roads and transport solutions. Okay, in a more visionary way, what we can say is we have to go ahead and create a similar logistics center or a logistics park at Dholera, so that and this logistics park will take care of all these things on the right hand side. So for example, like I said, there has to be a dedicated customs clearing zone which will take care of all the import and export clearance. Okay, there has to be shorter documentation while the goods are being cleared or inspected at the customs zone. There has to be a trained resources not just at the ports for loading, unloading, but even the customs authorities need to understand and learn how these goods would have to be, kind of inspected and cleared from the customs, right? And all those procedures need to be streamlined. Multiple warehouses to take care of the special temperature and humidity conditions that are required to operate these kind of warehouses. Storage of dangerous, hazardous and chemicals are required to be maintained at those respective warehouses. At the same time, any special requirement of odd dimension cargo need to be built in those warehouses so that they can be adequately kind of taken care of. And then last but not the least, from a ports, airports, road, rail standpoint, adequate handling of different kind of machines have to be there so that the loading, unloading can be taken care of. This training of resources is extremely, so while we are building the fab, we are trying to bring a lot of subject matter expertise from outside, right from construction to design. But at the same time, while we are working with these kind of port authorities, they need to ensure that they bring the respective subject matter knowledge, right, from either Taiwan or Japan or Malaysia, where a lot of these kind of loading, unloading activities are being, so that the same training needs to be transferred in here as well. So I'll probably stop at this, but net what we are trying to build is very similar to what we have at Sinchu, and with the close support and then the close coordination with all the ports, the logistics agencies and the customs house, airport authorities, we are very much kind of in a good zone that will be able to create and marry what we have in Sinchu to Dholera in some time in future. Yeah? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Agarwal, for sharing your expertise on collaborations in logistics. Your insights are incredibly valuable. I will request Mr. Kalpesh Vitlani, General Manager, Project Gujarat Maritime Board, to kindly present a memento to sir. Please, sir, you're welcome. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Next, we have with us Shri Supreet Singh Gulati, IS, CEO of DSIRDA and MD of Dholera Industrial City Development Limited. Shri Gulati will address us on the role of DICDL in streamlining logistics within the semiconductor sector. Please help me welcome Shri Supreet Singh Gulati.
Good evening, everyone. And I thank Gujarat Semiconductor for this opportunity to give a talk here on the logistic challenges and how is Dholera going to overcome them. It has taken me about half a minute to figure out how this works. I hope I'll be as swift with logistics as well. So Dholera, by the way, is just as an introduction. It's one of the nodes which has been established by NICDC. It is one of the 10 nodes and the biggest one which is coming up, and it has been declared as a special investment region by Government of Gujarat. We are right at Gulf of Khambat. About, if we go at present, it takes about 2.5 hours to reach from Ahmedabad to Dholera. And yeah, the way it is planned is the entire SIR area comprises 920 square kilometers of overall area, which includes the coastal regulatory zone as well. Leaving aside the coastal regulatory zone, we have 422 square kilometers of developable area, out of which at present the activation area, what we call as the phase 1, is about 22.5 square kilometer. So this is the area which is where my esteemed colleague Nikhil has just talked about, where the semiconductor fab is going to come up. So what does Dholera hold at present? We are offering land large parcels to the industry. So land parcels are upwards of 100 acres. So Tata plant, so we have 162 acres, we have 330 acres, 125. So we are talking about big land parcels which are available for the industries. Dholera already has a good plug and play infrastructure. When I say plug and play infrastructure, there is already a functional WTP, there is already a functional STP and a CTP, which is almost on the commissioning, almost about to be commissioned. Availability of water, the entire area is planned to have about 100 MLD of water, for which there is already a state commitment, and 30 MLD is present with Dholera as on date. This is apart from a commitment by the state for having a desalination plant also available in the vicinity. We already have a integrated operations center, which is functioning in the office for Dholera, which we call as the ABCD building, right on the outskirts of activation area. Power redundancy, we already have 2 substations, but more about the power redundancy later. Yeah, so if we see the activation area per se, 22.5 square kilometers, we have an industrial area of about 1,500 acres, a residential facility for the industries, for the employees, which is about 500 acres. A high access corridor where we can have multiple developments is about 112 acres, which is available. Another 230 acres in green for the tourism and the recreational areas within the city. And then we have space reserved for physical infrastructure as well as for social infrastructure within the city. This is what already exists at the Dholera city. We already have the stormwater drains which have been laid out. We have the ICT, the gas, the power, wastewater connections which are there. This is all there, and the utility manholes are available right outside the industrial plots, from which offers the plug and play infrastructure to the industrial partners. In terms of connectivity, Nikhil has spoken about some of the challenges that the semiconductor industry would face. So the first is the Ahmedabad-Dholera Expressway. It is already under construction. There are 4 packages, and on an average, 80% of the work is already completed. The planned completion date is about August 2024. And once the expressway goes, the Ahmedabad and Dholera distance, the time taken to travel from Ahmedabad to Dholera is about an hour or so, as compared to about 2.5 hours, which it takes today. The Dholera airport, it is right outside the Dholera SIR area, about 15 minutes of travel time from the activation area. The construction is already underway. The plan is that since there are certain requirements which are coming through from the semiconductor fab, our plan is to have the cargo facilities operational by July 25 and to get the entire airport functional by about December 25. So this is a project which is already underway. Apart from this, there is a freight line, the Bhimnath-Dholera freight line, which will help us connect Dholera with the Pipavav port, with the Ahmedabad, so that the freight line comes directly at Dholera. It is a project which has already seen the approval of the government. However, the work on the ground is yet to start. So about 3 years or so is the time when we should be having the Ahmedabad-Dholera the Dholera-Bhimnath Express freight corridor linking with the Pipavav port and the Ahmedabad. So we'll have a freight connectivity as well. Pipavav port is about 200 kilometers away, which is the nearest port with good facilities, which is already available near Dholera. So overall 75% in the expressway, which is there. So this is the plan for the airport with the runway work which is in progress. Similarly for the freight corridor, which has already approved, for which we already have approval from the Railway Board. The land acquisition process is ongoing, likely to be over by January coming year. Power. So Dholera already has substations which offers a redundancy. But obviously in a semiconductor sector, it is not only the redundancy of the substation, but we also require redundancy from the source. So at present, we are executing the project to have 2 power sources coming directly into Dholera, offering good redundancy for the first fab of the country, which will be there. So the substations are already in place, and from 2 different discoms. So even there we have a redundancy which is available. So GETCO is there, as well as Torrent Power. And we will be having redundancy in about 2 years' time from the source as well. Similarly, pipe natural gas, Gujarat Gas is executing the project for us. So about 40 kilometer of pipeline starting from Dhanduka to Dholera is the project which is ongoing at present, followed by a redundancy pipeline starting from Fedra onwards. Water supply. There is a commitment by the state to have 100 MLD water supply available for Dholera. The present infrastructure already established, the WTP supports 50 MLD, and there's already availability of 30 MLD at site at present. We also have not only the water treatment plant, we also have the storage infrastructure which is ready at site, and so is the wastewater treatment facilities, including the sewage treatment plant as well as a common effluent treatment plant. For the semiconductor requirements, the CTP would require an upgrade, for which we are closely working with our partners to ensure that the CTP also comes up in time for the fab. Some of the future projects which have been planned are the multimodal transport hub right next to the activation area. There's a proposal for a multimodal logistics parks as well, a desalination plant with a 50 MLD capacity, as well as a solar park to have a captive generation for the industries who set up base at Dholera. In the coming month, we'll be starting with the tender for our fire station there as well, so that adequate fire safety measures are in place to house the industries. Social infrastructure, we understand it is a concern because Dholera being about 100 kilometers away from Ahmedabad, facilities may be not be up to mark at present. So there is space reserved for both a healthcare facility as well as a school. We have workshops planned in August for both all the logistics facilities that are required for Dholera, for example, for the school, as well as for the hospital facilities. We are proposing these on the viability gap funding model to get the experts to have these facilities ready for us. Similarly, there's also area reserved for guest house as well, which Dholera Industrial City will be developing on its own. As far as the ecosystem for semiconductor is concerned, we are having workshops planned in the coming month, where we'll be tying up with many of you, with the various industries, with the various industries associations, so that we understand what are the requirements as far as warehousing is concerned, controlled temperature, humidity, what are the requirements at the airport. We already have in principle approval through what is called the EMC 2.0, where the government will be supporting almost a 800 crore rupees project to upgrade the infrastructure at Dholera so that it serves the needs for an upcoming semicon city as well as an electronics manufacturing cluster at Dholera. Past about 4 months or so after the announcement by Messrs. Tata's for India's first semiconductor plant at Dholera, it's been an exciting time for us. And I hope in coming 2 to 3 years, as the partnership develops, as we understand the requirements more in coming 2 to 3 months, Dholera is well equipped to handle more semiconductor fabs and the electronic manufacturing cluster. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for that wonderful overview of DSIDL. And I now request Shri Kalpesh Vitlani, sir, to do the honors of presenting the memento. Thank you very much, sir. Our next speaker is Shri Shiv Kumar Sharma, IRS, Principal Commissioner of Customs, Ahmedabad. Shri Sharma will talk about the Customs Department's role in facilitating smooth logistics operations. We welcome you, sir. A flicker? You want to call this one? Yeah, this will do. Yeah, this will do. The flicker is...
Good afternoon, everybody. And first of all, I'm very much thankful to Semiconductor, who has given an opportunity to Indian Customs to interact with semiconductors industry, which are going to come up in general, and to understand their needs so that they may be facilitated in the best possible way from Indian Customs. Just to explain about our setup, Indian Customs comes under the Ministry of Finance of the Government of India. And in the Ministry of Finance, there is a board, which is known as Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs, which is the apex body all over India. And in Ahmedabad, it is under the purview of Ahmedabad Customs Commissionerate, and I'm the Principal Commissioner heading the organization in Ahmedabad Customs. So basically, as far as the role of customs is concerned, it is concerned with facilitation of the clearance of import cargo as well as export cargo, which is coming to the ports, which are coming to air cargo and to ICDs. And also, there is a foreign post office at Ahmedabad. Just to give an overview of the various formations which is being handled by Ahmedabad Customs. Ahmedabad Customs is having jurisdiction at 3 seaports. The biggest one is Hazira Port, Dahej Port, and Magdalla Port. Apart from this, in Gujarat, there are 2. Mundra Port is in Bhuj, and also there is Kandla Port is also there. So it is being headed by Mundra Customs as well as Kandla Customs. So I'm just explaining you about whatever is coming under Ahmedabad Customs. Apart from the 3 seaports, there are 10 ICDs. At Ahmedabad, it is Sanand and Khodiar. And then there is Sachana, Biramgam in Ahmedabad district. In Vadodara, it is Dasrath, Ankleshwar, and Barnama. In Surat, it is Sachin, Tumb, and Valvada it is in Valsad district. At Ahmedabad, we are having 1 international air cargo complex. And in my jurisdiction, there are 2 functional international airports, one at Ahmedabad and another one is at Surat. In fact, Baroda is also likely to come up very soon. They are already in the process of we are having 7 export promotion circle. There is 1 foreign post office at Ahmedabad. Also, we are having CFS. There is also a special notified zone at Surat. It is Surat Hira Bors, which is exclusively meant for import and export of precious cargo, diamonds, etc. Recently, you must have heard in the news, which was inaugurated by our Honorable Prime Minister, Surat Diamond Bors. It has come up at Surat for clearance of cargo pertaining to diamonds, gems, and jewelry. Apart from this, there are various special economic zones. Just to explain about the logistics facilities which would be available to the semiconductor industries which will be coming here. So at Ahmedabad, we are having air cargo complex and the custodian is GSEC Limited, and Adani Ahmedabad International Airport Limited has also constructed a new air cargo complex and I think it would be inaugurated within 1 to 2 months. And the cargo which we are handling at Air Cargo Complex in the last financial year, it was 28,000 bills of entries which was handled at Ahmedabad Air Cargo. Next is ICD Khodiar. The custodian is Concor, and the cargo handling capacity in the last financial year, it was 1,25,000 TEU. At Sanand, the custodian is Hasti Petrochemicals and Shipping Limited, and the last financial year, the cargo which was handled in terms of TEU, it was 1,27,000. So as far as the matter of Khodiar and Sanand is concerned, approximately in the range of 1.25 lakhs. Now I would just be explaining the mode of clearance. For example, if you want to import something, what facilities do you have? Suppose you want to import from directly from Mumbai or let us say Delhi, which are the biggest as far as the matter of port and other things are concerned. If you are exporting from Mumbai Air Cargo or let us say JNPT, or if you want to import from Delhi, then you can directly import from there. Your documents and everything will be filed there, and all the formalities will get completed there. And from there, it can be imported to your this place on TP basis transshipment. Or what you can do, if you want to clear from Ahmedabad, then it can be imported at Ahmedabad Air Cargo. From Ahmedabad Air Cargo, it can be sent to your various sites. And also you are having ICD at Sanand and Khodiar. Just now Mr. Gulati has explained that by the end of, within 1 year, by July 2025, we will be having at Dholera International Airport as well as International Air Cargo as well as customs facilitation premises at Dholera. So till that time, this all facilities existing for you, and it is being utilized. Just to give a brief, for example, Dholera airport is coming. It will be coming within 1 year. So I'm just giving an overview of the provisions of the Customs Act. So in terms of the Section 7 of the Customs Act, the Central Board of Indirect Taxation and Customs application has to be made to them by the airport custodian for the appointment of airport at Dholera. And once the airport is appointed, then the concerned Commissioner of Customs will mark the premises and the proper places which would be meant for landing of import cargo and export of cargo. And similarly, after that, there will be places which would be appointed as warehouse for the purpose of storage of goods and its subsequent clearance. So in terms of Messrs. Micron, they have been granted permission. They are operating at Ahmedabad, Messrs. Micron, and they are working under one scheme known as Mover scheme. They are having their plant in Sanand, and they were granted the mover permission in the month of September 2023. And after getting permission, they have imported quite number of consignments. So just to give you an example, Mrs. Micron met us, they directly held a meeting with me in the month of February and March. So immediately they intimated us on mail that we want to hold a meeting. Immediately within 2 to 3 days the meeting was called on, and they came up with their representative. Many of their queries were raised. I've just mentioned because similar type of queries will be raised by similar type of industries. So I've just jotted down all those queries. One of their concern were that the consignments which are coming at air cargo, it is taking huge time as far as the matter of clearance is concerned. So we sensitized our staff that as far as the matter of semiconductor is concerned, they are to be facilitated because in terms of international practices, it has to be cleared at the swiftest time possible. So I will be showing you the data. We have, in terms of normal cargo clearance for Micron, it is taking 1/4 of the time. I will be showing you the data. So it was their concern that inspection is taking quite a huge time at air cargo in clearance. So we have instructed our staff to give priority to semiconductors so that they are inspected immediately, they are presented before the customs so that there is no delay as far as the matter of inspection on the part of customs is concerned. They also express their concern that at air cargo, there are space constraints because sometimes they are bringing huge consignments for which there might be issue of space constraint. So we held meeting with the custodian of air cargo, and it was clarified to Mrs. Micron that you should inform well in advance so that they are prepared and they are not having any space issue. But this issue will be sorted out because I told you Adani has already come up with a new terminal of air cargo and it will be operational very soon. And apart from this, there were few other things I've just noted here, but we can skip this one. So, as far as the matter of initiative which has been taken by customs in the facilitation of semiconductor for Mrs. Micron, we are giving higher level of facilitation, and also all the officers of air cargo complex has been sensitized so that if there is any consignment pertaining to semiconductor, it should be cleared on the topmost priority. Also, our air cargo is functional 24/7. So our officers can be approached anytime. So this was the data which I wanted to show it to you. In the month of April 2024, Mrs. Micron, they are having total 133 bill of entry, and the time taken from the time of registration. Registration means when the document is presented, when the goods are presented before the customs. So we are ready, you please clear our goods. From that time, it was 8.91 hours. In the month of May, 129 bill of entry, 11.25 hours. In the month of June, it is 4.52 hours. And if you are seeing the last line, clearance for all the bill of entry, Mrs. Micron as well as other imports, the total time was 34 hours. So as compared to 34 hours for Mrs. Micron from April to June, for 3 months, we have taken 8 hours, which is nearly 1/4. And also now that 8 hours has gone down to 4.5 hours. Just to show you data that we are concerned about the facilitation for the semiconductor industry, Mrs. Micron as well as others whosoever will be coming for their plants here. So just what was the outcome of customs initiative? I've explained you that the clearance time from the presentation of the goods to the out of charge, it is just 4.5 hours. And also as compared to other cargo, the time taken for the semiconductor, Mrs. Micron, it is 1/4 of the time which is being taken by the others. So this is all about presentation in brief. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for that wonderful presentation of yours. And I now request Shri Kalpesh Vitlani, sir, to do the honors for presenting the memento. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. Now we have a special address from Shri Rajkumar Beniwal, IAS, Vice Chairman of the Gujarat Maritime Board. Shri Beniwal, sir, will discuss how GMB supports logistics efficiency in the semiconductor industry. I request everyone to kindly welcome him with a big round of applause.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, let me thank the organizers for organizing this particular event, because this is the most appropriate time for such kind of events. Today we are discussing about Semiconnect and the role of logistics in Semiconnect. As the first presenter here, who presented the requirement of the logistics for semiconductor industry, there are very specific areas, there are very specific equipments, there are very specific technologies involved in handling the cargo related to Semiconnect. So that require full connect. So we are here to discuss from Semiconnect to full connect. The logistics industry in the globe today is around $9 trillion, and which is growing at a rate that in next 5 years, it's going to be $14 trillion of worth of economy. And if I talk about India, we are around $300 billion. And we are going to increase to around $500 billion of economy as far as the logistics, only the logistics part is concerned. That includes your air services, that includes your railroad connectivity, that includes your port connectivity, that includes your logistics parks, that includes your systems to like custom clearances, your warehouses, etc. If I talk about Gujarat, let me tell you that Gujarat is very well placed and very well connected as far as logistics ecosystem is concerned. In terms of railroad connectivity, in terms of air connectivity, in terms of ports connectivity. And if I come specifically to port sector, I assure that whatever concern were there in the first presentation, at different location we are at present handling all kind of such cargoes. Gujarat accounts for almost 40% cargo of the country that is being exported or imported. So 40% cargo of the country is being either exported or imported through Gujarat ports. And in the trade, you know that more than 90% of the cargo is handled through ports. By air, it is hardly maybe 5% or in that range, and some other railroad, if we talk about export-import, will be minuscule. So ports are going to play a very important role in the entire logistics ecosystem or the chain. And with the coming up of the new industries and new technologies like semiconductor industry, we require specialized equipment, specialized ports, specialized manpower to handle these kind of cargoes. At present also we are handling such cargoes. Let me tell you that we are handling cargoes which are imported at a temperature of -40 degrees centigrade. We are handling over-dimension cargoes. We are handling container cargoes. We are handling bulk cargoes. We are handling some of the world's biggest ships, direct berthing in our ports. At the same time, we are also aware about the future requirements. At present, the capacity in Gujarat is around 500 million metric ton cargo. All our ports, including Kandla Port, Mundra Port, Hazira Port, Pipavav Port, Magdala Port, all ports, including private ports, captive ports, our capacity is 500 million metric ton. But looking into the requirement of the trade, which is going to grow as our economy grows, in Gujarat only we are planning to increase our capacity by 4 times. So we are planning for 2 billion metric ton of cargo to be handled by next 20-25 years. By 2047, our capacity to handle cargo will be 2 billion metric tons. And for that, we are working in different, on different ways. One is we are coming up with 10 new greenfield private ports. We have already started the feasibility study. Second is the port city concept. You know that port is one of the biggest source of attraction for investment and for development of any city, be it like Singapore. Initially, the city started with a port only, and now they have grown to other sectors of economy. May it be Dubai, Jebel Ali Port, that was the beginning of that city. Maybe it is like Port of Rotterdam. Many cities there are many examples in the world that port sector attracts the investment, port sector attracts the industry, port sector attracts the overall social ecosystem. The reason being that one of the major component for any industry or manufacturing is the logistics component. The more you reduce the logistics component cost for production, for transportation, the more efficient you will become. So we are coming up with a mega port city concept, a port which will have the facility, or port which will have the facility for industry, industrial unit, industrial hubs, which will have the city itself, the residential, the commercial, everything at one place. This will reduce the transportation cost, the logistics cost. So that is another concept on which we are working. Third one is that we are improving the efficiency of our existing ports. We have almost 40 different kind of small and bigger ports which cater to different kind of cargoes. So now the technologies are changing very fast. We are very concerned about that, and we are also adopting those new technologies that we can reduce the time of the ship which berths. We can reduce the time for inspection by maybe customs. We can reduce the time of loading, unloading of the cargo. And there are lot of opportunities in modernizing our ports. We are working in that direction. Third important component in which we are working is connectivity to our ports. Whatever efficiency we do have at our ports, if we do not have the back-end connectivity, the railroad connectivity, it's of no use for us. So we have come up with a detailed survey, detailed study that where are the bottlenecks as far as the rail and road connectivity is concerned to our ports. And we are coming up with a master plan that within next 5 to 6 years, that will be our topmost priority to connect all our ports with high-speed rail connectivity, with 4-lane good roads, and all these rail and road being connected to the Delhi-Mumbai industrial corridor. Because ultimately the cargo which is coming from northern India, from central India, that is the main line, that is the main artery or the hub for transportation. So that is another direction in which we are working. We are also planning to connect our major industrial hubs like Dholera with the nearest ports with rail and road. As you saw in one of the presentations, that the nearest port to Dholera is Pipavav port, which is operational port as of now. Another port is coming up in Bhavnagar itself, which is very close to the Dholera. And we are connecting both Pipavav and Bhavnagar port with Dholera with a railway line. We are also already connecting, we are planning, a lot of work has already is ongoing to connect these 3 points, Dholera, Bhavnagar and Pipavav with 4-lane good quality road, all-weather roads. So all these things we are doing because until unless the basic infrastructure is there in place, I think we cannot attract, we cannot ask the industry to come and make investment at our place. Our place has to be very well connected. Not only the Dholera city within the city, but it should also be very well connected with the world. And for that, we have already started working in that direction. I would like to once again thank the organizers and all the participants for joining us, for coming here and discussing this very, very important sector of the industry, which is actually the future for us and which is going to help India grow and reach 5 trillion and later on maybe 15 trillion economy. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for sharing insights into the Gujarat Maritime Board's contribution to logistics. And I request Kalpesh sir to kindly present the memento. Sir, you'll have to come back. जितने भाग के आप गए उतने भाग के हम वापस बुलाएंगे आपको. Thank you very much. And now we will proceed to our panel discussion on collaboration and partnership models for efficient logistics. Can we have the stage, please? Just 2 minutes from now, and we'll set the stage. The discussion on the collaboration and partnership models for efficient logistics will be moderated by Ms. Shuchi Trivedi, partner at EY LLP. We welcome her as the moderator. And please allow me to introduce our esteemed panelists for this particular session. Mr. Amrinder Sidhu, Director at Micron, Mr. Kondo Takehiko, General Manager of Semiconductor Sales at Nippon Express, Mr. Anu Tyagi, Senior DCM at Indian Railways, Mr. John Chiang, Business Department at Evergreen Logistics, Mr. Sanjeev Verma, Head of Logistics Operation at Adani Logistics Limited, Dr. Ashish Negi, VP of Service Logistics at DHL. We welcome all of you. Yeah, we have. I'll give you mine as well. We are few, but we can make more noise. Great round of applause for all of them. Thank you.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I am Shuchi Trivedi, a partner with EY, and welcome all of you for this panel discussion. I know we are the ones holding you back from your flights or going back home, so we'll take care of that. And I'm thankful for all the panelists for sitting in the order which is in the picture, so please, that's a very nice thing which they have done. It's a very interesting session, I would like to say, collaboration and partnership models for logistics. Even when we were having our discussions, I was intrigued by the kind of work which is being done by these panelists and the kind of work which is happening globally. So that is something really interesting. So not taking much of time, this panel is going to mostly be discussing about what are the unique logistics requirements which are there, what kind of best practices globally we can see, and how how as India and Gujarat, we would be able to replicate this and make it a very conducive environment for semiconductor. So with that introduction, I would like to start the panel. And my first question will go to Mr. Amrinder Sidhu, Director Micron. Though there was some discussion which is, or Mr. Nikhil has already talked about some of the things in logistics, I would still like you to highlight what are the critical, logistics requirements which are there, which are unique, and how is it being addressed in India currently?
Okay. So thank you, Suchi, for the question. See, seamless and efficient logistics is very crucial for semiconductor due to its uniqueness for transportation of very sensitive raw materials, equipments, and finished goods. Equally important is the timely delivery of these sensitive raw materials, equipments, and finished goods. And all this helps semiconductor industries to meet its very tight manufacturing timeline, which is very critical for the industry to stay competitive. And then unique requirements for the industry would be that when these equipments are shipped or transported, there should be zero damage because the tools are very, very sensitive. So the logistic and supply chain partners need to be very mindful of, taking care of these equipments. Second, if these equipments are transported by road, and if your roads are bumpy, they can actually have an impact on the functionality of these tools. So it's very critical to, ensure that the transportation both on the cargo side and the shipment side, is absolutely zero damage for equipments and raw materials.
Yeah, that is actually very critical. Mr. Kondo Takehiko, given these requirements, I would like you to tell if India is prepared to address these kind of requirements. Do you think, are there some physical logistics issues which are there? And what could be the global best practices you've seen around?
Hello, my name is Kondo with Nippon Express, one of the biggest logistics provider in Japan. We started the business here in India over 20 years. However, we have been feel about the problem in customs clearance as well. Because of a customs entry into the different station, this is judged by the different HS code. This is why we take the time to make a customs clearance, to prepare the another documents and then sometimes customers need a physical inspection. This is to be abandoned in the future for the semiconductor industries, because this is time critical, and shipped equipment is very, very expensive and sensitive. So no physical inspection was allowed, basically. So talking about our experience in the other country, like Malaysia, Penang, they do have some tax exemption scheme, because of most of our import goods to be exported after the production in Malaysia, Penang. So they do have a LMW scheme to abandon the tax exemption at the time of entry. Then after the production, they will export without paying any tax. This kind of scheme to be considered in Gujarat or somewhere in specified international manufacturing area. Also, in Japan, we abandoned categorize over duties. Most of our equipment or machinery is duty-free now. So, no necessary to judge the just called significance categorization. So, for customs, easy to judge this is a machine or not. So, this is easy to proceed customs clearance actually. However, Japanese government to gain the tax or duties, they will arise the consumption tax rate. So this is a kind of issue to make customs clearance easier. This is one of our experience in Japan and Malaysia. So please refer it and to consider something to do in India and Gujarat.
That is interesting, and we can take some lessons from customs from Japan and Penang. Mr. Tyagi, you are with Indian Railways. Considering these needs of semicon industry, what do you think, how can Indian Railways address these demands? Are there any global practices you are looking for, or how do you think Indian Railways will address this?
Agarwal. Hello. So in the first presentation by Mr. Agarwal, we had got the brief insight about the logistic demand of that particular industry. So on the behalf of Indian Railways, I would assure that at present only Indian Railways offers the fast, reliable and efficient mode of transportation to the industry. Giving the insight, the issues raised in that, the demands raised in that particular presentation, the ODC clearances are very fast. The movement is very fast. If I tell you the scale of operation, we load around 180 containers on a particular rake in 5.5 hours to 6 hours. And the evacuation is really faster from the ports to the hinterland. And with the the commissioning of this DFCC from western ports to the northern part, and the requirement of the industry to move the consignments at a faster pace has really gone up. The transit time is reduced, and the movement is really faster, and the damages are almost nil. Coming up with the upcoming projects, as Sir had stated, the Dholera project is going to get connected in next 2 years. The land acquisition process are already there. So the semicon industry, if they want the global practices as goes, the customized containers or customized logistics solution Indian Railways is ready to provide. First thing. Secondly, when it goes to clearances, documentation and all setup, those have also gone down very, very fast. So as on date, as per the requirements and of the semicon industries, the offer that we provide, the services that we provide are very efficient, and they are ever increasing, the efficiency is ever increasing. Further, we are also looking after the freight nodes that can actually provide the seamless connectivities to the industrial clusters where the movement of the transshipment has to, movement of the consignment has to go. So those planning stage work are already going on, execution is going on, and the existing infrastructure upgradation is also going at a faster pace. And the scale of operation that Indian Railways is taking care on the Western port and other parts of the country is on a higher stage. So this is the present scenario, and taking ahead with the global practices, the double stack container movement that DFCC and Indian Railways is now offering to the industry is unmatched. So this is the present situation that we are offering to the industry.
That is very heartening to know. And while you were talking about how the channels have to move, there has to be clear channels for movement, I would like to ask Mr. John Chiang from Evergreen Logistics, what are the primary obstacles to setting up green channels for the semiconductor logistics in India? What do you think, how can they be addressed?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is John from Evergreen Logistics in Taiwan. Actually, semiconductor products quite sensitive. So you need to organize a project team, dedicated team, who the people need to be well-trained, not only for the normal business, but also for the reefer container. For dangerous goods, you have to realize the category of dangerous goods. Also for the oversize, because there are a lot of equipment, they are oversized, how to package this oversized, palletize this oversized cargo, how to transport this cargo, how to follow the local rule for the road limitation, road rules, and so on. You need to have people who are well-trained for this knowledge. Of course, to accompany with the good facility of a terminal, trucker, even the warehousing, then with this kind of a series of service, you can provide a good service, and I would say qualified service, suitable service to semiconductor business, but not only semiconductor business, but also chemical industry, gases industry, some facility and equipment business. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. When you're talking about this, I saw that warehousing is going to be an important aspect in it when you're talking about these green channels, skilling the people. Mr. Sanjeev Verma, you're from Adani Logistics. Is current warehousing system ready to address the requirements of semiconductor or technology advancements, the kind of technology advancements we need now? Are they there, or are there, like, it's a long way to go?
Yeah, thanks for this opportunity. So actually, post-GST, warehousing has increased in India like anything. So there has been a lot of investment in warehousing capacity. A lot of capacity has been built up. Now, whether that capacity is ready for semiconductor industry or not, that is yet to be tested. But the type of standards that are being followed in development of new warehouses, because almost all the warehousing facilities that are coming are basically grade A warehouses. They are TAPA certified, FSR, ESR compliant. So converting them to semiconductor compliant warehouses is not a difficult task. What you need is purging through inert gases, you need climate control, you need electrostatic charge control should be there. Automation has to be done. So if a standard box is available, which is compliant with international standards, so these all things can be inbuilt into those systems. We have already seen examples of various ASRS type of facilities. There are 2 or 3 ASRS facilities in India. So those facilities will provide the required services to semiconductor industries. So there will be very less of manual handling. Everything is automated. Going ahead, if I go ahead of conventional warehousing, so there are concepts of air freight stations. So you have your warehouse, you have an air freight station where entire custom clearance activity takes place in that warehouse itself. So again, no handling of cargo for custom clearance or transportation. You can build in these aircraft pallets in warehouse itself, carry it directly to aircraft. So all those facilities are available in this country. Maybe they are not used that much because that requirement was not there. But I think the companies, the warehousing companies which are into this particular field, they are very much capable. There are developments that are taking place. There are provisions. In fact, if I talk about my company, we have a provision of around, for creation of around 1 million square feet of warehousing space, grade A, and internationally compliant warehouses in Virochanagar, that is next to Sanand itself. So maybe that's also an opportunity for the semiconductor industries which are coming, looking at setting up their bases at Dholera. And again, connectivity is most of the warehousing zones which are getting developed now, they have excellent connectivity, air-wise, rail-wise, and port-wise. Thank you.
So these warehouses, you're saying we have the capacity. Now, since we have the demand, we will be able to upgrade it with the technology and all. Okay. Dr. Ashish Negi, the industry is logistics and cost sensitive. We saw it in COVID when the demand for our automobiles just increased and there was a lineup of, addressing, there was no supply happening for 3, 4, 5 months. So, so how do you ensure that first thing logistics is happening, the supply is happening on time, cost is, the cost of servicing is controlled, and what kind of integrated solution you would have seen or what you would suggest for these kind of industries?
Yeah. So thanks, Suji. So just before I answer that question, I just want to pick up 2 things. One was on the customs related and how can we, so I think under the customs law and provisions of FTWZ and SEZ, I think there are a lot of provisions with the Government of India, and the central board has already incorporated within the ecosystem of India, which is facilitating trade, which is, we just saw example of how the time was cut down to just about 4.5 hours from, there are other provisions where, from FTWZ, in case you want to, move out your goods to a domestic tariff area, there are provisions of temporary removal without payment of duty and then return of goods within 120 days. There are provisions under customs that, if you are doing a custom bonded warehouse, which is, done by a private player, there might not be any need of a custom official. You can just submit your, regulatory mechanism. The custom officials can come once in a fortnight or, so these are all things which the customs and the government bodies are facilitating apart from creating infrastructure. The second thing was on the infrastructure of, the warehousing facilities in India, and my co-panelist very well said that most of the warehouses that come in India now are grade A. We just need to, probably pick additional requirements of things like making the warehouse aircon because it requires temperature sensitivity, making efficient humidity control mechanism into warehouses. We operate approximately about 13 odd million square feet space in India already. We are, adding our capacity ahead of the curve to, service sectors like this to about at least 2 million square feet every year. So that's from an aspiration perspective. Now coming on to the cost, we need to understand that the cost of logistics, okay, the country's aspiration is to bring it to a single-digit number, which currently is pegged at, a double-digit, 20, 13, 14 different reports say different things. But we have to understand that when you are building an ecosystem for a industry which is kind of setting up in India and becoming sunrise, the initial cost of setup and the logistics will be higher because the ecosystem doesn't exist, right? So we are trying to establish. So it's a model of, just like a network thing being built up, and then the unit cost of logistics will come by efficiency. So if Tata or Micron or any other player is establishing a factory, the initial capex is very high. And then they start producing 100 units, then 200, then 300, then 500, then the unit cost of logistics goes down. So we'll have to look at principles of economies of scale. So there might be, and right now, most of the suppliers to these organizations, which could be tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, people who are supplying capacitors, PCBs, diodes, and so on and so forth, they don't have a setup in India. So the only thing that they can do is import, right? So the international cost of logistics is high. So as long as that ecosystem will not thrive, we'll have to bear with the fact that this is expensive equipment, this is extraordinary equipment. So extraordinary things will require extraordinary things to be done, right? So extraordinary facilities, extraordinary ways of communication, linking everything end-to-end, transparency, visibility of inventory, and that's how the cost of logistics will go down.
Just before this session, we were having a discussion and you were talking about your recent visit to Penang or how it is being developed. Can you just throw some light on that to get the
we
example?
also had a slide to demonstrate, but I don't know if they can show it up on the screen. So the ecosystem in Penang, I recently visited Penang, and within about 7-8 kilometers of radius of Penang, the entire ecosystem of semicon is established. So there are manufacturers, people who are making machines, bringing in raw materials. So the government has facilitated with FTWZs, custom officials being there. So all the raw material comes, it gets stored. Based on the demand, it is sent to the manufacturing facility. They produce, the finished good comes back, and it is then exported on demand. Or so within 5-7 kilometers of the entire ecosystem, where you have raw material, you have production, you have parts, you have after-sale service, whether it is small components, whether it is equipment, etc. It's like beautiful, right? So within a span of 7-8 kilometers, you see an ecosystem of factory, bonded warehousing, transportation facilities, EXIM, port being very near, air, cargo being facilitated. So absolutely so. And Dholera, from whatever I saw since morning, through presentations by government officials, the private players, their expectations, I think that ecosystem, and a lot of people showed ecosystem in Taiwan. I think that ecosystem is fantastic. So Dholera, looking at Dholera and Sanand, there are a lot of airports, seaports, development happening. The quality of roads, whatever I saw in the last 2 days, is fantastic. So I think that ecosystem already exists. The physical infrastructure setup is there. The only thing is that the private players, of course, there's a lot of support by the government, but private players, manufacturers, logistics providers, both international and domestic, need to set that ecosystem in the same speed. So I think that's absolutely beautiful.
Great. That is a great example, and we saw that Dholera is looking at something like that. Mr. Sidhu, I want to understand from you, you have come in the state, you are putting up a plant. As per you, based on your experience globally, what are the recommendations you can give to improve or basically bring in ease of doing business in this sector? It could be in terms of infrastructure, it could be, we have heard a bit about customs, but infra, connectivity, custom, whatever your suggestions could be.
Yeah, thank you, Suchi. So I can share a little bit from our experience here, basically what is working well and the room for improvement. We have Principal Commissioner for Customs, Sir Sharma, sitting here, who showed you how the inspection time at customs have really improved. So thank you so much, sir. We really value the partnership, with the customs here. So, and I know a lot of hard work has gone into that in terms of educating the team on the sensitivity of the equipments, because these are vacuum sealed, and the moment you, kind of open these equipments for inspection, you are exposing them to the environment, to the dust, and again, risking the equipment, for issues on functionality. So the relationship with customs is working really well. One request, or, we always say there's room for improvement. So if, inspection on site can be enabled for semiconductor equipments, that will be really helpful, because then you have subject matter experts who can, work with the officers for inspection within the clean room environment.
And in terms of connectivity, when we were having discussion, I remember 1 or 2 days back, this was a very important point which has come in, the connectivity to the major global semiconductor hubs, especially if we want Gujarat to become the lead. So direct connectivity with the global hubs like Taiwan and Malaysia, if that can be done, I think that is also something which you guys highlighted would be important. Sure. So we understand that this is what we have to do. But what kind of automation Mr. Takehiku, what kind of...
Kondo is fine.
Okay, Mr. Kondo, what kind of automation you would suggest could be adopted to bring in that ease of business, like quickly responding to the requirements? Is there any kind of automations which you have seen across the globe which can be implemented here?
Yeah, actually, this question to me is very tough. Automation means customs clearance or entry. It's mainly done in the global side. So I think India has a similar customs systems over there. So I would say other subject. I want to say that this is a transportation issue to Gujarat, especially for Ahmedabad. Airport facility is very poor right now, and especially back-end manufacturer such as Micron, they need a speed. They have to import die wafer from Taiwan or China or Japan, then make a process for the back-end, and they export again immediately. So there are no direct flights to Ahmedabad so far from Taiwan, Japan, and Korea as well. This is an important issue to consider to change it. And for our transportation method, for the capital equipment, this is very, very sensitive and huge, over 200 centimeters high. So only can carry by air cargo freighter. This access to Ahmedabad, even to Mumbai and Delhi is very difficult right now. So we have to consider about road condition must be improved immediately from the airport to the factory in Gujarat. This is an important issue. And another one is equipment over trucking. Indian truck is very, very far from our experience in Japan, United States, and Europe. They do have air suspended truck chassis, and this is very good to carry this kind of vibration and tilt sensitive equipment. Although they do have some expensive lens in their machinery. These have to avoid I missed it. Humidity control. Concentration is restricted for this kind of a shipment. So upon arrival at airport, they have to bring it into the reefer container immediately. This kind of arrangement is needed. Ocean shipment and money from the chip maker after the installation, usually. So considering a supplier's cash flow, they want to have a bonded warehouse near the factory so that they can avoid to pay the high taxes and duties before they collect the money. This is one of the issues from the supplier side. So Mr. Nikhil Agarwal explained about the future logistics park surrounding a factory with a logistics partner. To do what kind of support from the logistics supplier side to consider one by one for the construction side, for the manufacturing side. Of course, after the production, final product delivery and the distribution must be finished within these logistics park. This is the best solution, better than automation, I believe.
Yes, that is a good summary of all the points which you have made, that we would need good connectivity, we need our roads to be improved, and the warehousing to be there. Mr. Tyagi, you've heard that air connectivity is going to be very important. But Semicon is not going to be only between the globally to just one city. It is going to be across India, right? So Indian Railways is going to play an important role going forward. How do you ensure that especially these technicalities like the temperature, the precise aspects, we'll take care of it?
See, when we talk about the logistic efficiency, it means providing a comprehensive logistic solution to the industry. So now Railway has undertaken the study, and also the study is now on the execution side to identification, going by the development that we are going to undertake infrastructure development, which requires laying of new railway tracks, developing world-class freight terminals, which will provide entire warehousing and customized solution to the semicon industries. So from the point of originating, where the railways will undertake the operation, either it is from the door to the warehouse or to the door, customized solution is a customized solution can be provided depending upon the demands that are being put forward by the semicon industry. So we are not alien to providing the customized solution. Already we are undertaking reefer containers, we are moving for EXIM also and for domestic also, and high cube containers depending upon ODC. We have now introduced 12 feet high cube containers for the ODC material. Double stack is already going on. So customized solution, whatever industry requires, it is there on the part of whether it requires introduction of laying of new lines, procuring new rolling stock, or any other assets, or developing freight terminals. It is on the cards. So that can be provided, and it really depends one-to-one solution discussion among the industries about their requirements and what we can actually offer.
So Railways is prepared, and we will see a lot of
yes, it's already,
yeah.
Actually from Mundra now, whatever transshipment is coming to Sanand, most of it is coming by railways through double stack container, and Sanand is one of the ecosystem which has actually been serving the industry over there.
Wow.
So that is already in place, but depending upon the requirements, which, see, as the other panelists said, that coming forward with the demand of the industries, that customized solution are already, that can be given to the industry.
That is fantastic.
There is no difficulty in providing customized solution.
That is fantastic. Mr. Verma, we are talking about that Sanand is getting connected. Dholera is making its own ecosystem. What are the other activities or infrastructure requirements you think will bring them on that global map?
See, actually, whatever I had in my mind, so my fellow panelist, Mr. Negi already mentioned a very critical part of that. We are moving towards a concept. Earlier, there used to be a concept of ICD, CFSs, which used to do all these custom clearance and last mile handling of import and export consignment. We leaped to a new concept called multimodal logistics park around 5 to 6 years before. Now, another concept is integrated logistics and manufacturing zones, which is exactly what Mr. Negi told, that you have an area where you do entire manufacturing activity, you do all your value-added services there, you do custom clearances, and then you have first or last mile connectivity to gateway ports and airports, so that no multiple handling of your sensitive cargo is required. Now, traditionally, if you see the size of logistics parks that were there, so customs says that you need around 20 acres of land to set up a ICD. But the size of logistics park now, which are coming to the range of 400 acres, 500 acres. So our logistics park at Sanand, that is coming in an area of around 1100 acres. Concor has got its ICDs 600 acres and 400 acres. So these are all very futuristic projects just to get into this particular framework, that they will have provision for industries to set up their bases there, do production in that particular logistics park, which will be a customs notified zone. You produce there, you do all your value-added activities on the product, you do packaging, it gets automatically custom cleared in that particular zone. You don't do multiple handling. Your cost of handling, first mile, last mile transportation is saved. And there, and then and there, the product is ready to be shipped to any international destination. If you have to ship it to domestic destination, it is connected by rail. So we work handling up with railways. So I pretty much vouch that railway is developing its network to connect all major industrial zones within the country like anything. And you will find a very effective network of double stack trains running from north to east, from west to north. So this dedicated freight corridor network will be very effective to cater to needs of all industries, leave aside semiconductor industry.
That is interesting. We are talking about having one area where all this can be done, and it is like an FTWZ. From that perspective, from evergreen logistics perspective, how do you think having a dedicated project management team to take care of this entire thing will help in such a situation? Do you think this integrated project management would be a better solution than going for piecemeal things?
I think TSMC, the #1 semiconductor in the world, if they, without the supporting from their vendors like hundreds of different kind of industrial, okay, they're all around or surrounded this company. Without the supporting for these hundreds of company, there will not be success for this kind of commodity. So I think for the future in India, it will not be only PSMC or Micro. They need hundreds of these kind of vendors to build up the completed supply chain. That will be the key to be success in the future. Okay.
Sure. So a lot of opportunities for entrepreneurs here in Gujarat, across India, especially in the logistics sector. While we are talking about logistics, most important thing is going to be the skills of handling this thing. So just want to understand from you that how the skills or knowledge transfer can happen, which is going to be very, very important.
Yeah, so I don't know if the presentation desk is still on. Can you just put on slide number 2? So just coming back to the skills. So I think, from a so one is the skill that you get through education, and the other one is through, on the job. So as far as, the intellectual content via the education system is concerned, I think Gujarat, and I heard in the morning as well that IIT, Ahmedabad and other institutions have already started to introduce courses, and they are leveraging that strength. A lot of these players in the semiconductor forum are now engaging with global universities as well. So I think from that standpoint, the knowledge and the skills is fairly good. The other thing is from a logistics service provider standpoint as to how do we inculcate or build that skill. So one way is that you start from scratch, you go to these facilities, start learning. The other way is that if you're already working with global customers, globally across the globe within the organization, like we do, we work with about 45, 50 different semicon, players globally in about 30 odd countries. So how can we do a knowledge exchange there, right? So our global expertise in-house can come into India, or we can then, send our people there, get them trained and bring them back. So that's where I would say, the part of skilling is important. Probably, yeah. Just stay there, just stay there. The other thing is that we talked about a lot of infrastructure development, factory development, logistics, physical operations, but, most of these semicon players, irrespective of whether they are into fabs, OSAT, ATMP, etc., work with 200, 300, 400 different suppliers across, majorly 6-7 countries, but generally 20, 25 countries. So how do they bring in efficiency and optimize their overall supply chain? So one way is that they, speak to these 10, 20 different countries, 200, 300 suppliers individually to make sure that their process becomes efficient. The other way is, can somebody, like DHL, come and give you an integrated layer? So we can do end-to-end, right? And that can be supplier agnostic, absolutely supplier agnostic. So you could potentially agree to work with 50 different suppliers, but there's an technology layer which integrates everything end to end. You have information as to where your raw material is, where your machines are they in transit, are they in a problem area, how can you fix to resolve it. So I think these are multiple facets and aspects as to how manufacturers will get visibility in their end-to-end supply chain to create more value.
Yeah, and that is quite informative as well. So we have got a lot of pointers from our panelists. If I have to summarize that, yes, we are on the way of becoming semicon superpower by piece, step by step. We are getting there by having an integrated zone. If we can have an integrated zone like an FTWZ for semicons, logistics, especially the quality of roads, railways, direct connectivity could be there. We can pick up and do knowledge transfer from Japan, from Penang, and understand how they are working fine. And of course, skills are going to be very important going forward. So with these summary points, I would like to thank my panelists for giving such an informative, having such an informative dialogue. And thank you, all of you, for the patience. Thank you once again, and have a nice evening.
Hello. Yes. Thank you very much. And I request, sir, to kindly present the mementos. Gentlemen, you can be on the stage. We would like to present the token of gesture to all of you, all the panelists and moderator. And, sir, if you can wait for a group photograph. Shiv Kumar, sir, please. Gulati, sir, you'll also join for the group photograph with the panel. Yeah. We'll request you to kindly step forward after that for the group photograph. Madam, gentlemen, can you step forward? Sir, yes. Sir, Kalpesh sir, आप भी join करिए. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. It was great having you here for the whole day from morning till evening for the knowledgeable sessions and the seminars and the panel discussion. Thank you very much. This is Dwani Dalal signing off, your host for the day. And until we see you next, stay healthy, stay happy, stay smileful. Thank you. Love you all. Bye-bye. Have a great evening ahead.